Okay, you've had a twisty-turny road to get into government. You've been in private sector. You've been in security. Tell us a little bit about how you got started. You you
Yeah,
can go back as far as you want.
it's a
Yeah.
boring. It's the same old boring story. Tech
Mhm.
nerd, grew up with computers, fell into tech in the '90s, did tech, ended up working for a startup in the early 2010s. AI back when it wasn't LLMs, it was TF-IDF and optimization and stuff. We did some really cool stuff, but it started to get a little bit, I don't know, senseless. Like, what's the point of coming to work every day and doing something that's just optimizing revenue for somebody else?
Mm.
Mm.
I started dating a scientist that came to work for the government via
Oh.
fellowship, and all of her friends were scientists that also came to work for the government. And at a party, I was talking to one of my friends. And I said, I wish there was something like that for college dropout tech nerds to come to government. And she pulled up on her phone just right there, like, I think there is something. It's called this U.S. Digital Service. And I looked at it and I laughed and I was like, one day, maybe I'll do that. 2 years later, I quit my job. When I took a bunch of time off, traveled the world. After a while, my partner after we'd been dating at that time for years and years said, "Hey, you got to get a job." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll try that U.S. Digital Service thing. Let's go work for the government and see what that is like." And that put me on this just bizarro, crazy journey that led to me quitting my time in the government in February of 2024 because I could not handle it anymore. Partially because of this program called FedRAMP that I just kept running into and causing problems, but not because the program was wrong, because people misunderstood it. They didn't know the right way to use it. They were not playing. They just weren't doing things right, and it was a constant set of education of, hey, this is how this should work. You're not doing it right. You can take risks. It's a risk management program, not a zero risk program. So I quit and
It
went
was
on a
that
big motorcycle
painful.
trip. Yeah, I mean, it was one of many reasons, to be very, very clear.
Okay.
There's a lot of technology in government is a very hard problem to solve.
Mm.
Anything that you want to do in private sector that a startup you can do in a weekend with a couple of folks might take a year and a half, and $10 million in government, and that people celebrate that you crushed it in many situations because it's just not set up for something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I walked away, got some emails about a new job opening up. Was like, oh, do I want to go back to government? I'll apply. It's government. I'll never get a government job again. Like, I'm not gonna do that stuff. And somehow it worked.
Yeah. That's awesome. I know there's a ton of people really excited about what you guys are doing now, and we can't talk about it, but that's super exciting.
One question I do have
Yeah.
for when this is not FedRAMP related, but it is post getting the job. So we'll cut this if you don't want to answer the question. But you listened to the podcast back in the day, and we had a guest on the podcast, AJ, who's awesome. And then tell us that story. This is great.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like this is fair because this is about personal things. It's not
Yeah.
a pre-decisional government business. So I'm in a bath on Sunday. I take very long Sunday baths. It's part of my ritual.
Awesome.
I love it.
Listening to Paramify as one does in the bath.
As one
you know?
does.
This interview with this guy, and it was really hilarious, and it was super fascinating. And one of the things that he kept saying in the interview was something to the effect of, I hope that my boss never listens to this.
Yeah.
I hope my future boss never hears me saying this stuff.
Yep.
And then the next day, I started in this job, and they're like, "Oh, you got another guy starting the same day." And I look at this. The name wasn't quite the same because the government email addresses and names, you don't have like the initials and stuff. I'm like, I think that's the guy that was on the podcast I was listening. And sure enough, literally in front of the whole team, as we're introducing ourselves, I introduced myself to my team of people by calling out my other new teammate for the podcast he had done yesterday, which was the Paramify episode, and proceeded to quote things that he had said back to him and express how happy I was to work with him instead of letting him introduce himself.
I love it.